Good afternoon to you and welcome to the live broadcast of the Senate, this being the afternoon of Wednesday. The date is the very 22nd day of March. The year is 2023. We are so glad you're watching. There is a lot of entry in the order paper this afternoon for consideration by senators. We have 4 bills that will be read for the first time before the floor. The very first bill given priority in the order paper this afternoon is the County Boundaries Bill, Bill number 3 of the year 2023. And this particular bill is sponsored by Moses Kajwang, the Senator for Homa Bay County. And this particular bill seeks to clearly define the boundaries of the counties of Kenya by setting out its first schedule. The boundaries of Nairobi area and other 46 districts, now known as counties of Kenya, set out in the districts and provinces of Act of 1992. The bill seeks to cure the challenge in relation to the current reliance on the provisions of boundaries of districts reposed in the Districts and Provinces Act, which are deemed to the boundaries of the corresponding counties. Another bill set to be read for the first time is the Persons with Disabilities Bill, this being Bill number 7 of the year 2023 by nominated Senator Crystal Asige. The Heritage and Museums Bill, Bill number 8 of the year 2023 by the Chairperson Standing Committee on Matters Labor and Social Welfare is another bill that will be read for the first time. And a look at this particular bill, the principal object of this bill is to give effect to the 4th schedule of the Constitution. And this particular bill seeks to, proposes to retain the National Museums of Kenya, already established under the National Museums and Heritage Act of 2006, to provide for the national as well as county museums and matters the preservation, protection, and management of the cultural and natural heritage at the national as well as county levels of government, and to repeal the National Museums and Heritage Act of 2006. Finally, the last bill that will be read or tabled for the first time before the floor of the Senate is the Kenya Sign Language Bill, this being Bill number 9 of the year 2023. And this particular bill is by senators, nominated Senator Crystal Asige as well as Senator Professor Margaret Kamal. And in this particular bill on the Persons with Disability Bill number 2023, seeks to repeal the Persons with Disability Act number 14 of 2003 and have in place a law that is consistent with the Constitution. The bill places emphasis on human rights approach, and this is towards realization of persons with disability in Kenya and societal responsibilities to protect as well as to promote persons with disability in the country. The Senator for Nandi County, Senator Samson Cherargei, will be making a statement pursuant to Standing Orders number 52, subsection 1, on the destruction and loss of lives caused by tropical as well as cyclone Freddy in the southern part of Africa. Pursuant to Standing Orders number 53, subsection 1, the Senator for Nyeri County, Senator Homa Wamatinga, will be seeking a statement from the Standing Committee on Matters Lands, Environment and Natural Resources concerning the alleged irregularities in the land acquisition for the dam construction projects. The Senator for Kirinyaga County will be seeking a statement from the Standing Committee on the National Security and Matters Defense regarding the establishment of more police stations, police posts, and police patrol bases in Kirinyaga County. You are watching the live proceedings of the Senate, brought to you courtesy of the collaboration between the Kenya Broadcasting Corporation and the Parliamentary Broadcasting Unit. You can also watch this live broadcast on our YouTube channel, that is courtesy of KBC Channel 1, as well as on Senate of Kenya. I now hand you over for the live broadcast of the proceedings of the House. Enjoy your viewing.
Almighty God, we beseech you to behold with your abundant favor and blessings us, your servants, whom you have been pleased to call to leadership positions in this republic. We seek guidance to treat and consider all matters that shall come under deliberation in so just and faithful a manner as to advance the peace, prosperity, and welfare of our country and of those whose interests you have committed to our charge. Amen. Clerk, do we have quorum? Okay. Quorum having been established, we shall proceed with the business of the House. First order, Clerk.
Order number 1, administration of oath. Order number 2, communication from the chair.
Honorable Senators, I would like to acknowledge the presence in the Speaker's Gallery this afternoon a visiting delegation from the Parliament of Namibia. The delegation comprises members and parliamentary officers of the Standing Committee on Implementation and Coordination who are on a benchmarking visit with the counterpart committee in the Senate. Honorable Senators, I request each member of the delegation to stand when called out so that you may be acknowledged in the Senate tradition. The Honorable Victoria M. Kauma, MP, Leader of Delegation. The Honorable John Lekando, MP, and a member of the committee. The Honorable Peter Kazunguminja, MP. The Honorable Melanie Ndajo, MP. The Honorable Hans Nambondi, MP. The Honorable Alpheus K. Abraham, MP. The Honorable Olivia T. Hanguho, MP. Mr. Bani Karwombe, Parliamentary Officer. Mr. Moono Matengu, a Parliamentary Officer. And lastly, Mr. Bernard Mwira, Parliamentary Officer. On behalf of the Senate and on my own behalf, I extend a warm welcome and wish you a fruitful visit. Honorable Senators, I have a further communication to make. I would like to acknowledge the presence in the Speaker's Gallery this afternoon, a visiting delegation from the County Assembly of Makueni. The delegation comprises staff of the County Assembly of Makueni who are in the Senate on a one-week training of committee clerks. Honorable Senators, I request each member of the delegation to stand when called out so that you may be acknowledged in the Senate tradition. Mr. Thomas Ndambuki, Assistant Director, Legislative and Procedural Services. Mr. Julius Nzau, Principal Clerk Assistant. Mr. William Onyango, Principal Research Officer, and Mr. Peter Wanzia, Senior Clerk Assistant. On behalf of the Senate and on my own behalf, I extend a warm welcome and wish you a fruitful visit. I will allow the Majority Leader to welcome the delegation from Namibia, and thereafter I will allow Senator who is not rightly in the House, but when he resumes his seat, he will make brief remarks on behalf to welcome the delegation from Makueni. Honorable Senators, you may welcome.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I wish to join you together with the rest of my colleagues in welcoming this visiting delegation from the country of Namibia, who are here on a study tour. And I believe, Mr. Speaker, that in the course of their visit shall be able to interact with members of parliament, our staffers, the leadership, and get a full worth of their travel to us. Mr. Speaker, I celebrate this delegation because I have said times without number that there is a good practice that is emerging, which we as a parliament need to emulate other countries from the African continent. Almost every other week, Mr. Speaker, we get a visiting delegation from an African country that is either on a study tour or something related in our parliament. However, Mr. Speaker, I have been quick to point out that hardly do you find a request, and you would bear me witness, on your desk for approval of members from the Kenyan parliament that are visiting other African countries for study. This obsession with other capitals of the world, Mr. Speaker, and leaving our own is the very reason why Africa continues to remain backward, Mr. Speaker. If we can trade, learn from each other, sharpen each other's skills, that is what will make us better as a continent. Therefore, on that account, among as many other reasons, Mr. Speaker, I celebrate this visiting delegation from Namibia. I look forward, Mr. Speaker, to an invitation from them to the leadership of this House on any particular matter, Mr. Speaker, that will be of interest, because I believe Namibia is our peer as a republic, and there are many things that we can learn from this beautiful country, Mr. Speaker. And an invitation to us, or even initiated from our side, will be a welcome study opportunity for us as members of the Senate to appreciate their democracy and the many things for which Namibia has excelled better than us as a country, Mr. Speaker. And I believe that's one of the ways in which we can promote Pan-Africanism, Mr. Speaker. Of course, Namibia still holds a very special place to the people that I represent in this House. The last two Kenyan ambassadors to the country of Namibia have come from the county that I represent in this House. Ambassador Benjamin Langat, who's now Member of Parliament for Enamoy, served there for the last 3 years. And the present ambassador, the immediate former clerk of the National Assembly, Ambassador Michael Sialai, also hails from Kericho County. Therefore, this is a very special delegation to us in the fact that our own sons have represented this country in their country, and both of the two gentlemen are my friends, and I have very fond memories of the kind of stories they share and lessons, especially on agriculture and how they have excelled as a country, despite them facing challenges that are almost similar to ours in terms of rain availability and such matters, Mr. Speaker, is something worth emulating. Therefore, I welcome this delegation. I hope to interact with them in the course of their stay and study here with us, and wish them well. May they enjoy to their field. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Senator Manzo.
And thank you, Mr. Speaker, for giving me an opportunity to welcome the team from Makueni County Assembly to the Senate. And also, Mr. Speaker, welcome the team from Namibia. Mr. Speaker, a few years ago I visited Namibia, and we were treated very well in their country. And they're a very good example of water recycling. So we look forward to interact with them and to learn more. And Kenya has a very good history between Namibia and Kenya in relation to the struggle for freedom, for independence in those two countries. Mr. Speaker, I met part of the team from Makueni County this morning when they attended committee proceedings in the Committee of Delegated Legislation, and they're really learning, and I believe when they go back to the county, they'll be able to copy and implement what they have seen the practice here in Senate from their different departments, Mr. Speaker. We really look forward for more counties coming here to learn, so that the Senate becomes a very good template for the county assemblies. I really welcome them and look forward into interacting with them further and making them learn more so that they can make the county assembly of Makueni better. I thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Next order, clerk.
Order number 3, messages. Order number 4, petitions.
Honorable Senator Chirenge.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Petition on unfair terms and conditions for universal health coverage, UHC, staff and delay in internship posting. Mr. Speaker, we, the duly registered health sector unions, associations and societies with constitutional and legal mandate of championing the labor interest and professional welfare of all health workers employed by both level of governments, that is the national and county governments, being citizens of the Republic of Kenya, and authorized representatives, officials, together with the UHC staff or universal health coverage staff, and interns who have sought our representation, draw the following attention of the Senate to the following. That in April 2020, Mr. Speaker, sir, a group of health workers were recruited under 1-year universal health coverage internship contract to boost efforts on the achievement of universal health as well as aid in the fight against COVID-19. They were given personal numbers but released from service after 1 year of service, leaving a shortage that remains uncovered to date in their previous workstations. They are unable, Mr. Speaker, sir, to get any other employment in public service since they have personal numbers under the Ministry of Health. That, Mr. Speaker, sir, in June 2020, at the height of COVID-19 pandemic, the Ministry of Health employed about 9,000 on a 3-year contract of UHC and deployed them in different county governments across the country. Their contracts are coming to an end in May 2023. Mr. Speaker, sir, the UHC staff have been diligently providing critical health services across the country since they were engaged. These contracts attracted a consolidated salary that have seen them earn half of what their peers working in the same environment. In February 2023, Mr. Speaker, sir, the Intergovernmental Summit sitting in Naivasha resolved that the Ministry of Health to extend the contracts of UHC staff for a further period of 3-year term under the same terms and conditions. Mr. Speaker, sir, these staff are disturbed and demotivated by this development as they had valid expectations that they would have been observed on permanent and pensionable terms or their remuneration improved to be equal with their peers whom they work together under same conditions but earning different. That, Mr. Speaker, sir, under Article 259 of the Constitution of Kenya provides that the Constitution must be interpreted in a manner that promotes its purpose, values and principles, advance the rule of law and human rights and fundamental freedoms in the Bill of Rights, permits the development of the law and contributes to good governance. Under Article 41, Mr. Speaker, sir, of the Constitution of Kenya 2010, we are entitled to constitutional privilege of fair labor practices, this being human right. The article reads in Part 41, Labor Relations 1, every person has a right to fair labor practices. Every worker has a right to fair remuneration or salary, Mr. Speaker. Internship contract is recognized under the Employment Act as a contract of service under apprenticeship or endured learnership, and therefore entitled to enjoy the protection of Article 41 of the Constitution. Both UHC staff and interns submit that they have suffered unfair remuneration as their remuneration has not followed the principle of equal work, equal pay for equal work. This act is not only unfair but discriminatory in nature and goes against the doctrine of fair labor practice ordained in Article 41 of the Constitution of Kenya 2010, as well as the Employment Act number 11 of 2007, Laws of Kenya on Fair Labor Practices and Mr. Speaker, sir, that both Article 27 of the Constitution and Section 5 of the Act prohibit discrimination on the basis of race, color, sex, language, religion, political or any other opinion, nationality, ethnicity or social origin, disability, pregnancy, marital status, or HIV status. Section 5(7) of the Act provides that when discrimination has been alleged by an employee, the burden of proof shifts to the employer, who must show that it did not take place. Mr. Speaker, sir, according to the Constitution of Kenya, all human beings are born equal and are equal before the law. Section 5 of the Employment Act provides that it is illegal to discriminate any facet of employment. It also provides that an employer shall promote equal opportunities in employment and shall ensure that policies and practices of the organization discourage discrimination. The law disallows discrimination in the process of recruitment, training, promotion, terms and conditions of employment, termination of employment, and other matters related to employment. Mr. Speaker, sir, the Public Service Commission, Human Resource Policies and Procedures Manual for Public Service, May 2016, recognizes the establishment, initiation, and management of internship programs in Kenya. The same states inter alia, internship programs shall be guided by the relevant provisions of the Constitution. Relevant professional bodies and other policy guidelines shall not exceed 1 year. That, Mr. Speaker, sir, the internship is a legal requirement and a prerequisite for licensure and independent practice. The Ministry of Health is mandated to ensure that all officers are facilitated by posting to internship centers and paying their salary or stipend, whereas some cadres, e.g. pharmaceutical technologists, nutritionists, and dietitians, are not paid that stipend. Mr. Speaker, sir, these interns were supposed to be posted in December 2022, but this has not happened to date, of great concern in the fact that we have seen other interns being posted without any communication on when the remaining interns are to be posted. Mr. Speaker, sir, also while other interns are paid using job group in the health sector, diploma clinical officers are only paid a meager allowance that can cater to their basic needs during the internship. Mr. Speaker, sir, delay in internship posting delay licensure and therefore creates anxiety, denies the graduates opportunity to work and contribute to health service delivery, as well as interruption of skills mastery process, which impacts on the quality of health services delivered in the future. Mr. Speaker, sir, the African Charter on Human and People Rights, to which Kenya became a state party on 23rd January 1992, and in particular, Article 3.2, we provide that every person is entitled to equal protection of the law. Mr. Speaker, sir, Article 5, which provides that every individual shall have the right to the respect of the dignity inherent in a human being. Mr. Speaker, sir, Article 9, which provides that every individual shall have the right to receive information and to express, disseminate his opinions within the law. That, Mr. Speaker, sir, the Senate has the powers to find a solution to this discrimination on unfair labor practices against the UHC staff and other who are supposed to be on internship program. That, Mr. Speaker, sir, we have made every effort to have the matter addressed by the relevant bodies, including Ministry of Health, but the responses have not, the response has, and in, but let me take that one, but the responses has not, and in other cases has been unsatisfactory. Mr. Speaker, sir, none of the issues raised in this petition are pending before any court of law, constitution, or any other legal body. Wherefore, your ample petitioners, Mr. Speaker, sir, pray as follows. That, 1, the Senate investigates the issues raised and intervenes on the matter of discrimination and unfair remuneration of the health workers, including the one at UHC and others in internship. Mr. Speaker, sir, number 2, prayer, make recommendation on such programs, including adequacy of resources, better terms of engagement, as Mr. Speaker, sir, finally recommends the appropriate measures for which such programs, including internship and posting of health workers, and even that one were removed under UHC, Mr. Speaker, sir. That is countersigned, Mr. Speaker, alongside other practitioners like the David Atela, Secretary General of KMPDU, Kenya Medical Practitioners and Dentists Union, Mr. George Kibore, Secretary General, Kenya Union of Clinical Officers, Mr. Pius Nyakundi, General Secretary, Kenya National Union, Medical Laboratory Officers, Mr. Speaker, Sir Elias Mutuma, General Secretary, Kenya National Union of Pharmaceutical Technologists and Officers, Michael Ouma, General Secretary, Kenya Union of Nutritionists and Dietitians, Peter Ayeko, General Secretary, Kenya National Union of Biomedical Engineers of Kenya, Samuel Karanja, Honorable Secretary, Society of Radiography in Kenya, Mr. Speaker, Sir Moses Lore, Secretary General, Kenya Health Professional Society, Mr. Speaker, Sir Mohammed Duba, Secretary General of Association of Public Health Workers, Mr. Speaker, among others, the unions, Mr. Speaker. Sir, with those very, very remarks, I thank you for allowing me to read this petition. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Honorable Senators, can you have your seats, please? Honorable Senators, Senator Omtata, you're out of order, and that is my first warning. The second, I may have to ask you to withdraw. Honorable Senators, pursuant to Standing Order 237, I shall now allow comments, observations, and clarifications in relation to the petition for not more than 30 minutes. Looking at the dashboard, I have several senators wishing to make contributions to this petition. And therefore, with a limited time of 30 minutes, I will allow per speaker or per senator contributing to this petition a maximum of 3 minutes. Senator Osotsi.
Mr. Speaker, I do not wish to contribute to this one. The next one.
Now, honorable senators, this habit of you walk in, key in, and go to the lounge, you clog the queue. If you don't wish to contribute, please do not clog the dashboard, kindly, so that we can only have those who are wishing to contribute on the dashboard. Senator Aaron Cheriot.
You know, Mr. Speaker, the reason I'm laughing is because Senator Osotsi, we are told, or someone told us yesterday, is a leading IT expert on the Azimio side. So I'm wondering, Mr. Speaker, if he's struggling with basic technology, such as the gadgets of the House, how can he then do the technology work that is needed to do in Azimio, Mr. Speaker? Anyway, I now understand the source of the difficulty with technology. Mr. Speaker, this is a very important petition that Senator Cherargei has brought before this House. It's not the first time that we are hearing about the mistreatment of what you'd call UHC workers. That's what they are commonly referred to. If you check in all your counties, Mr. Speaker, you'll realize that during the COVID pandemic, national government, through its intervention or trying to show up healthcare management in all our 47 counties, did a universal recruitment of Kenyans, and they were all sent to the various county governments. There were very lofty promises. So many young people applied with lots of enthusiasm, and they believed that finally they had met their destiny and they were going to serve their country and be proud while at it. Unfortunately, Mr. Speaker, thus has not come to fruition. It has not come to fruition because there seemed to be a push and pull between the Council of Governors and the national government. Council of Governors maintain on one end that the wages with which they were recruited, one, is unsustainable, and two, they cannot afford to add it to their books, Mr. Speaker. And therefore, during this push and pull, these honorable citizens, trained medics that have dedicated a lot of their time and money studying on how to ply their trade and serve the citizens of the country, have continued to suffer, Mr. Speaker. It is my sincere hope that the health committee, Mr. Speaker, will get to the bottom of this matter so that they can advise the Finance and Budget Committee, because at the heart of this dispute are budgetary issues. Who will eventually carry the blame? Because Council of Governors insists that the only way they can continue to maintain this staff is via conditional grant, something which the national government has said health is a devolved function. We only hired to show up the numbers during the COVID pandemic. Now take responsibility. I hope the health committee can give a lasting solution so that the young men and women that are suffering in all our 47 counties can lay their struggles to rest and serve their country with pride, Mr. Speaker. It's unfortunate that people who have gone to school, taken time to study, have to live on sometimes 3 months contracts, 6 months, or 1 year in some of the best counties. In fact, in most counties, they are being paid as casual laborers, which is really unfortunate, Mr. Speaker. So I expect that the Health Committee will do justice to this matter and conclude on it quickly. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Senator Sifuna.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I had the privilege of sitting in on the sessions by the Health Committee, chaired by Senator Mandago yesterday, when many of these health workers were presenting their issues to the committee. Mr. Speaker, there is simply no justification because our Constitution provides that...
Senator Methu.
Mr. Speaker, I hope that my time will be compensated. But the point that I was making, Mr. Speaker, is that under our Constitution, it is really discriminatory and unfair labor practices for people performing the same work under the same conditions in the same facilities to earn different salaries, Mr. Speaker. So I am in support of this petition by the UHC workers that, in fact, we have no justification. And I want to encourage the majority leader that we cannot look anywhere else for the solution, because the solution is in this Senate, Mr. Speaker. I am aware that in the next few days, the Division of Revenue Bill is going to land here. We have made the argument that, in fact, if we do not sort out the question of full financing of county functions, then we are wasting time. I am hoping that the majority leader and the majority side, when that bill comes here, will put their money where their mouth is and send the requisite resources to the counties in order that we can fully fund financing and to ensure that we hire all the people who are medical workers, especially under the UHC. We were told there are counties that have not hired a single doctor in the past 5 years, Mr. Speaker. And the medical professionals are there. 4,000 people who have already qualified and are unable to find work in the public sector, Mr. Speaker. So as a Senate, we will not run away from this issue by saying it's not clear whose duty it is. It is the responsibility of devolved units to finance health fully, and we must find the money to support the hiring of these UHC workers and other health workers within the county setup. I thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Senator Veronica. These are the honorable senators who key in and walk out. It shall be disorderly of senators to do that. I hope as you are looking at the amendment of the standing orders, you'll put that as a disorderly conduct. Senator Mandago.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, this is a very pertinent issue that my Committee of Health is seized of the matter. We had the opportunity yesterday to have a sitting with a number of unions. But, Mr. Speaker, there are things that needs to be put into perspective. Mr. Speaker, as we have heard the Senator for Nairobi saying we cannot continue blame games here and there because health is a devolved function, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker.
What is your point of order, Senator Kinyua?
Bwana Spika, kwa sababu Senator Mandago ndio mwenyekiti wa hiyo kamati, ningeona ingekuwa vizuri ongee mwisho, akuje mwisho Bwana Spika, ndio tuweze kuchangia, alafu asikize vile ambavyo tumechangia, aongee mwisho na tupe uamuzi huo kulingana vile ninavyosema. Naomba Bwana Spika.
Senator Kinyua, it is not a requirement because the chairperson is not required to make a response to all the contributions that senators are making. As you're aware, at the end of it, the petition will be committed. So if the chair has a contribution to this petition now, as a senator, it's within his right to do so. Secondly, Senator Kinyua, once you raise on a point of order, the first thing you need to do is to state the standing order that you're relying on a point of order. We wouldn't want a situation where senators just stand on a point of order and basically quote nothing. You know, it is good practice that you tell us exactly which particular standing order that you're invoking in that is the practice as given in the standing orders. So Senator Mandago, kindly proceed. It's within your right to contribute.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. So, Mr. Speaker, there are a number of other pertinent issues, and we want to agree with this petition that other than the UHC staff, Mr. Speaker, we also have internship programs for the various cadres of health, Mr. Speaker, and some cadres are given stipends during internship. There are others who don't get any stipend, and for those stipends that are being paid, it also varies for the same cadres in the different trainings, Mr. Speaker. But, Mr. Speaker, I want to say this. The reason Ministry of Health has continued to hire workers to perform devolved function is because the ministry in itself is inherent in clawing back on the devolution function, Mr. Speaker. And, Mr. Speaker, the reason counties cannot recruit is because the money that is meant for devolved function is still sitting in Afia House, Mr. Speaker. And, Mr. Speaker, I want to urge this House that during the division of revenue, Mr. Speaker, our position as Senate that counties must be given a minimum of 425, Mr. Speaker. The idea of being told there are no funds, Mr. Speaker, I want to tell this House the balance from 425 to 385 is actually in Ministry of Health, that is being held in the ministry, continuing to perform functions that are meant to be done by county governments. So it is upon this House, Mr. Speaker, to make sure that the devolved function of health is performed by counties. Mr. Speaker, we cannot continue as a Senate that is supposed to protect devolution to allow the growth of the budget of Ministry of Health exponentially from when devolution started, when the function of health has been devolved. As we speak, we have more than 10,000 health facilities being managed by county governments. The Ministry of Health, the civil servants, the bureaucrats in that ministry must be willing to release the funds they are holding in Ministry of Health. We cannot allow as a Senate to continue allowing ministries to undermine county governments so that counties look like they are unable to perform their functions. Number two, Mr. Speaker, the question of training, which has been a thorn in the flesh, Mr. Speaker, for health workers. Doctors need to go for training. National government are supposed to foot a bill, but they never allow for release of funds for training so that counties look like they don't want to support the health sector to grow. Mr. Speaker, this petition is very pertinent, and I want to say that as the chair of that committee, we shall be well seized of the matter and we shall properly.
Senator Enoch.
Us.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I stand in support of the petition brought to the floor of this House by Senator Chirage. And Mr. Speaker, before I even make my comments, this goes to Senator Madago. The Wiper Democratic Movement is ready to give him a direct ticket in 2027. He is speaking the language of the people. Mr. Speaker, this matter, Mr. Speaker, of UHC and the way we have treated our medical personnel in this country, it's actually a shame. It is a shame, Mr. Speaker, because We were told the other day we have more than 4,000 medical doctors who are tamarking in the streets. It's a shame. And the solution, as Senator Sifuna said, the solution, the Speaker, is in this Senate. It's not even in the National Assembly. The Speaker, the solution to the problems that are being faced by the health sector in our counties is to ensure that funds follow functions of the counties, Mr. Speaker. And because division of revenue is coming very soon, I see pretensions by a lot of people pretending that they can allocate money to counties. Mr. Speaker, the only house that can allocate money to counties is Parliament. The National Executive has no business allocating money to counties. And so when that matter comes to the floor of this House, I want to see the majority side, led by my friend, my brother, Senator of Kericho, putting the right foot forward and making sure that the people of Kericho get proper medical care by ensuring that we send 425 billion Kenya shillings to the counties. Mr. Speaker, I support.
Senator Kinyua.
Asante Bwana Spika. Hili dua ambalo limeletwa na Senator Cheriot naunga mkono Bwana Spika, kwa sababu wauguzi wamekuwa wakiwa na shida sana Bwana Spika. Na ukiangalia hili jambo limeanza kitambo Bwana Spika, nikiwa katika chama, nikiwa katika hiyo kamati Bwana Spika ya Bwana Spika, nimechanganywa kidogo na yule kiongozi wa Wiper ambaye amesema.
Just proceed. Honorable Senators, may the Senator be heard in silence, please.
Cheragenji ananichanganya Bwana Spika. Bwana Spika, mimi naunga mkono dua hilo na kusema ya kwamba wauguzi wanapaswa waangaliwe Bwana Spika. Ukitembea katika kaunti zote zetu za humu nchini Bwana Spika, wakati kulikuwa na ugonjwa wa COVID, walikuwa wameajiriwa wengi na kukawa na mkataba ambao waliokuwa wamepewa, lakini sasa Bwana Spika, baada ya ule ugonjwa wa kuondoka, unapata wanaonekana hakuna jambo lolote wanaonekana kufanya Bwana Spika, kulingana na wale ambao wamewaajiri Bwana Spika. Vile tungependa Bwana Spika kama Seneti, kwa sababu wameleta malalamishi yao hapa Bwana Spika, wamesema ya kwamba tuyaangalie. Ndiposa Bwana Spika, nilikuwa nimesimama kuuliza mwenyekiti wa kamati ya afya waangalie hayo mambo kwa undani Bwana Spika. Tusianze kuyapapasa haya mambo Bwana Spika, kwa sababu Bwana Spika, hili ni donda sugu, haya ni mambo nyeti ambayo yanapaswa kuangaliwa kwa kina. Bwana Spika, madaktari ni wengi ambao wako katika kaunti zetu, gatuzi zetu Bwana Spika, hawana kazi Bwana Spika. Ukiangalia kwamba wengine tayari wamepewa nambari ambayo kusema ya kwamba wameajiriwa na serikali, kwa hivyo hawawezi wakatafuta kazi mahali pengine Bwana Spika. Bwana Spika, ni vizuri kamati ambayo inahusika ishughulikie haya mambo Bwana Spika, kwa sababu watu wanaendelea zaidi kujiunga na hii idara Bwana Spika, ilhali unaona na Bwana Spika wale walioko hawalipwi. Bwana Spika, ukitembea katika kaunti zetu unapata hawa mauguzi Bwana Spika wanafanya kazi nyingi lakini hawalipi Bwana Spika. Kwa hivyo wakati hela zinapoletwa hapa katika Senate, tuigawe huo mgao na waweze kuongezewa pesa ambazo zinalipa madaktari wetu. Na Bwana Spika, imekuwa ukiangalia kidogo Laikipia, madaktari walikuwa wamefutwa Bwana Spika, na tunashukuru governor wa Laikipia kwa sababu alirudisha wale, tulishirikiana na yeye tukarudisha wale madaktari Bwana Spika, na hilo jambo tutaendelea kuliangalia Bwana Spika.
Just hold on, Senator Kinyua. Senator Gloria, you cannot roam the length and width of this house as if you're inspecting a chicken banda for over 10 minutes. I've watched you for the last 5 minutes, pacing up and down. Now I'm going to read this standing order for your benefit. Except we are passing to and from his or her seat, or when speaking, every senator when in the chamber shall be seated and shall not at any time stand in any of the passages and gangways. Kindly proceed to take your seat. Out of order. Proceed, Senator Kinyua.
Asante Bwana Spika. Na natumai muda wangu ulikuwa umesimamishwa Bwana Spika ulipokuwa ukitoa Bwana Spika, mimi nasema ya kwamba ukitembea katika sehemu za Laikipia, Bwana Spika, uende na Nyuki, unapata kuna madaktari wako pale na wanaendelea kukaa kwa hali ambayo ni duni sana, Bwana Spika, kwa sababu mshahara wanaolipwa, Bwana Spika, hautoshi, na wale ambao ni wako pale wa ziada, Bwana Spika, wauguzi wanaishi maisha ya uchochole. Kwa hivyo sina Nyuki peke yake, Nyahururu, Kinamba, Bwana Spika, Rumuruti, kuna madaktari wengi, hata zahanati zetu zilizoko, Bwana Spika, walionekana kana kwamba walikuwa wazuri tu wakati kulikuwa na huu ugonjwa, lakini baada ya huu ugonjwa kwenda chini, Bwana Spika, inaonekana ni kama wamewachwa na hawaangaliwi. Bwana Spika, kamati hii ambayo inaongozwa na Mandago, ulivalie hili swala njuga, uliangalie kwa kina, Bwana Mandago, na najua kwa sababu wewe umekuwa katika zile county, unajua shida hizi madaktari wanazo.
Your time is up, Senator Kenywa. Senator Eddie Okech.
It's me. Came out.
Senator Ed Okech, it's not up to you when called upon to speak to pass it to any senator that you wish. That is a prerogative of the chair. So if you're not willing to speak at this juncture, please do not nominate somebody to speak on your behalf. Senator Muthama Agnes Kavindu.
Bwana Spika, nakushukuru kwa kunipa nafasi hii nikaweze kuchangia kwa hii mada ambao Senator Cherargei ameleta. Bwana Spika, madaktari ni watu wanafanya kazi ngumu sana, kwa sababu madaktari hata usiku, sisi tukiwa usingizini tumelala, utawapata kwenye hospitali wakihudumia wagonjwa. Na Bwana Spika, ni kweli kabisa madaktari wanastahili kuangaliwa, na kwa hivyo hii pesa ambazo madaktari wanastahili kupatiwa, Ministry ya Health haistahili kupinga chochote kutolewa, kama vile ambavyo imeamuliwa na Seneti na Parliament. Ni lazima watoe hizo pesa ziende mashinani zikaweze kuhudumia madaktari wetu. Bwana Spika, hakuna watu hufanya kazi ngumu kama madaktari, kwa sababu hata mtu akiwa katika hali mahututi ambao hawezi kukaa kwake nyumbani, utampata anahudumiwa na daktari, na daktari atahudumia mgonjwa mpaka mgonjwa atoke hospitalini akiwa mtu mzima, akiwa anaweza kujisaidia katika hali zake zote. Kwa hivyo Bwana Spika, hatutaki kuona madaktari wetu kwenye makaunti wakifanya mgomo ili wakaweze kupata pesa ambazo wanastahili kuwa nazo. Hata hali zao kule wanaishi ni hali duni kabisa. Ningeomba hata makaunti wakaweze kuangalia madaktari wanaishi manyumba ya aina gani, ili wakaweze kuwa na amani wakitoka pahali wanaishi, wakienda kazini, wawe ni watu wanafuraha na wana amani, wanaweza kuhudumia wagonjwa inavyostahili. Bwana Spika, ni asanti, nina support hii motion ya Cherargei.
Senator Methu.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. I also rise to support this petition that has been brought to the floor of the House. And I would want to join my colleagues in agreeing to the fact that when you are not well remunerated, and especially a workforce of the nature of medical practitioners, people that have been entrusted in ensuring that they restore the lives of the people of Kenya. If, Mr. Speaker, the people have not been remunerated for such long times as has been elaborated in this petition, Mr. Speaker, and that, Mr. Speaker, they feel, and I am also of that same feeling, that they are not well remunerated. Mr. Speaker, they have cited, Mr. Speaker, that the Public Service Commission Human Resource Policy and Procedure Manual for the public service is very clear that the internship program, one, is very legal, and number two, it is it is run using the relevant provisions of the Constitution and the professional bodies and other policy guidelines. Mr. Speaker, it is not fair that people that we have given such a task, a noble task of ensuring that they substitute or help in the health sector are the ones that are leading in terms of complaint. I would want to join the chairman of the health committee in saying that one of the biggest funded or one of the biggest funding of government is the Ministry of Health. And I would want to agree that this money should and must be sent to the county government so that they're able to take care of this particular sector of the county governments. Mr. Speaker, I do not understand, and I have never understood why, because the fourth schedule is very clear on the duties and functions that have been devolved. If health is a devolved function, why then is the Ministry of Health taking the lion's share of all the government, of all the budget of the national government, of the money that was the top-up from the 385, Mr. Speaker? That money remained with the Ministry of Health. We want that money to be sent to the counties so that, Mr. Speaker, we can bring to a close. Because even if we continue complaining, Mr. Speaker, and we are not sending enough money to the counties, Mr. Speaker, they will not be able to sustain this kind of program. So, Mr. Speaker, as I wind up, I want to really implore on my colleagues that
Senator Ledama.
Mr. Speaker, thank you for giving me this opportunity to make some brief comments on this thing. I rise to support the petition on the health workers by Senator Cherargei. Mr. Speaker, this is an opportunity, and I just want to follow with what Senator Matthew has said. I now want to beseech all the members in this House that we now have the opportunity to be able to ensure that our counties are getting money. We have DORA coming, and we know what the National Assembly is doing when it comes to the issue of DORA, division of revenue. We are the ones who divide money between the two arms of government. The issue of these universal healthcare workers, where most of them were being paid a stipend of about 15,000. And the biggest problem, Mr. Speaker, with this issue is that they were already given a number, which if I refer back to the petition, because it's an IPPD number. So wherever they go, it appears if they are employed by the ministry. So they cannot even be employed by anybody else. This is a matter which is alive in our Committee on Health. When I received the petition from these workers, I submitted it to our committee, and we've met those workers. And now we are looking to meet with SRC. We're also looking to meet with the ministry. I think we've already met with the ministry. And ideally, Mr. Speaker, even when we go to Mombasa to meet with the Commission of Revenue Allocation, some of these things are things we need to be able to engage in. We need to send more money to counties. There is no reason why the Ministry of Health should be having billions, money equivalent to 5 counties allocation. That money ought to go to counties, and then we clear this issue of IPPD numbers, remove it in the system, and then allow these individuals to be employed. So, Mr. Speaker, because I see the color is already yellow, I want to say that as a member of the Health Committee, this is a matter that I became very proactive on, and I brought it to my chairperson, who I really have a lot of respect for, because he has stood firm to ensure that at least we bring this thing to a finality. We have to.
Senator Karen Nyamu.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The importance of the health sector and the health workers cannot be gainsaid. The other day, I was attending the opening of the first ICU facility in Nairobi by the county government of Nairobi. And one of the glaring issues that came up from the public is the quality of health care that we have in our hospitals. and the quality and the fact that the health workers are not motivated and they're not delivering, and they, as they claim, they are idling in hospitals and their attitude is wrong. But Mr. Speaker, on the flip side, when I took time with the health workers, they said that, they claim that, and which happens to be true, they claim that the terms of service are not met. They work under deplorable environment. Their wages are not as is supposed to be, and they're not motivated, and their working hours are long. So, Mr. Speaker, it is very important that we look into the welfare of the health workers.
Senator, correct. Senator Kajuang, once you bow and walk in, you go straight to your seat. I can see you're behaving like the guest of honor in some Harambe. Greeting everybody, especially the lady senators. Proceed, Senator Nyam.
Mr. Speaker, the working environment of these health workers impact directly on the health services and on the common mwananchi. And so, Mr. Speaker, I want to support this motion by Cherargei so that our health workers' conditions are looked into. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Honourable members, the 30 minutes meant for contribution to this petition is now spent, and therefore, pursuant to Standing Order 238-1, the petition should be committed to the relevant standing committee for its consideration. In this case, I direct that the petition be committed to the Standing Committee on Labour and Social Welfare. In terms of Standing Order 238-2, the committee is required in not more than 60 calendar days from the time of reading the prayer to respond to the petitioner by way of a report addressed to the petitioner and laid on the table of the Senate. Now, while the Standing Committee on Labour and Social Welfare gets down to prosecute this petition, if need be, let it co-opt the Health Committee so that we have an in-depth look at the matters raised in this petition. Now, Honourable Senators, there is a communication that I want to make. The first, actually two communications. The first is to welcome the petitioners. Honourable Senators, I would like to acknowledge the presence in the Speaker's Gallery this afternoon, a visiting delegation of representatives from the unions, associations and societies in the health sector. They are in the Senate as guests of the Senate of Senator of Nandi County, Senator Samson Cherargei. Honourable Senators, I request each member of the delegation to stand when called out so that you may be acknowledged in the Senate tradition. Mr. Kipkorir Kirui, Public Health Officer. Mr. Samrum Derek, Clinical Officer. Mr. Bashir Ali, Clinical Officer. Ms. Lavender Kibitisu, Clinical Officer. Mr. Abdi Fatah Musa, Clinical Officer. Mr. Desmond Wafula, Community Health Officer. Mr. Lawrence Kariuki, a nurse. Mr. Innocent Situma, a nurse. Ms. Lillian Mumina, nutritionist. Honorable Senators, order, Honorable Senators. On behalf of the Senate and on my own behalf, I extend a warm welcome and wish you a fruitful visit. I will allow the Nandi County Senator to make very brief remarks. And that is after I've read the second communication. Honorable Senators, I would like to acknowledge the presence in the public gallery this afternoon, a visiting delegation of Class 8 pupils from Riara Group of Schools in Nairobi County. The delegation comprises 6 teachers and 83 pupils who are in the Senate for a one-day study visit. Honorable Senators, in our usual tradition of receiving and welcoming visitors to Parliament, I extend a warm welcome to them, and on behalf of the Senate and on my own behalf, wish them a fruitful visit. After the Nandi County Senator makes his brief welcoming remarks, he will be followed by the Senator for Nairobi County, Senator Sifuna. In that order, please.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, sir. On your own behalf, I want to extend a warm welcome to colleagues from the associations and unions of health sector, Mr. Speaker, sir. And it is good that they came in when senators were expressing in solidarity. And I hope, Mr. Speaker, sir, finally, we shall find solution to the issue of UHC, issue of health sector, Mr. Speaker, and on the issue of internship and their payment, Mr. Speaker, sir. Mr. Speaker, sir, I can see some of colleagues of mine and my guests have drawn the attention of some of my colleagues, Mr. Speaker, sir. Jesus Christ said you cannot get to the Father without him. I want to advise Senator Sifuna and Senator Kajwang that you shall not see that kingdom without going through me, Mr. Speaker. And therefore, they can ensure I'm comfortable, Mr. Speaker, and then I can attend to their needs and ensure they access some of the numbers. Mr. Speaker, sir, finally, I'm also on a matter of Riara University. I know it's part of Riara Group of Schools. I extend a warm welcome, and I hope we can interact later, Mr. Speaker. Thank you very much. And Senator Sifuna, you can see me in camera, and Senator Kajwang. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Mr. Speaker, thank you very much for giving me this opportunity as well to speak. I do not understand why Senator Cherargei wants to take possession of the leadership of the unions that are here. But just to assure him that we, in fact, as a political movement, have had very close working relationships with the unions, from the KMPDU to the nurses, and we can only use such opportunities to deepen and widen those relationships that are already existing. I want to assure the health workers that at least on the minority side, we are very clear that we will not send you away from this house. We will find that solution in this house in the coming weeks. Forget the 60 days that have been given to the committee. We are very, very soon going to be debating the question of division of revenue. It is the responsibility of all of us in this house to find money for you. And I can assure you, Senator Cherargei, once I find the money for them, I don't think that I will have to go through you to access those unions. Mr. Speaker, allow me also to take this opportunity to welcome students from the Riara Group of Schools. In fact, the most surprising bit of information is that Senator Cherargei is somehow also a product of Riara. There is quite a big difference. When you look at the faces in the gallery there, they speak to the group of schools. This is one of the most established education facilities, in fact, in the whole country. They have built a good brand for themselves. And in fact, Mr. Speaker, I want to notify this House that one of the students there, she's called Abigail Gidhira, is the daughter to one of our senior clerks here, the deputy clerk, Miss Eunice Gishangi, who was also my lecturer in the University of Nairobi. And I spoke to her yesterday. I know Abigail's parents are outside the country, but she asked me to extend a very warm welcome to Abigail and her classmates. I hope that you enjoy your tour here. And I want to, when you go back home, thank your parents for voting for me as a senator of Nairobi. Mr. Speaker, I wish them a successful tour of the Senate. I thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Honorable Senators, I do have another communication to make. Minority Leader and Senator Osotsi. Kindly have a seat. There is no standing order that tells you to freeze when the chair is up. You sit, you go have a seat, the next available seat, even if it's not yours, but you take it until the chair is done, then you can resume yours. Honorable Senators, I would like to acknowledge the presence in the Speaker's Gallery this afternoon, a delegation from the Homa Bay County Assembly, comprising members of the Committee on Welfare and its Secretariat. The delegation is undertaking a 5-day benchmarking visit in the Senate. I request each member of the delegation to stand when called out so that you may be acknowledged in the Senate tradition. The Honorable Doreen Oyugi, Chairperson. The Honorable Kasera Silvans Wanjala, Vice Chairperson. The Honorable Odhiambo Billy Noah. The Honorable Otieno Evelyn. The Honorable Olo David Odhiambo. The Honorable Reuben Odhiambo. The Honorable Odok Paul Owade. The Honorable Lentana Adoto Apopo. The Honorable Nancy Anyango. Mr. Amos Nyandege. Ms. Damaris Ochele. Ms. Mercy Kaula. And lastly, Mr. Calvins Wambalo. Honorable Senators, in our usual tradition of receiving and welcoming visitors to Parliament, I extend a warm welcome to the delegation, and on behalf of the Senate and on my own behalf, wish them a fruitful visit. I will allow the Senator of Homa Bay to make very brief welcoming remarks.
Mr. Speaker, I join you and the House to welcome the delegation from Homa Bay County Assembly. And Mr. Speaker, I want to congratulate the honorable members for choosing to come to the Senate for benchmarking. This is a committee that is charged with the welfare of members. And Mr. Speaker, one interesting thing that is going on around Parliament today is that at the National Assembly, at the facade of the National Assembly, they are putting up a sign. I think that should be the logo or the motto of the National Assembly. And they are saying, for the welfare of society and the just government of the people. It has been wrapped around the facade of the National Assembly. And I want to encourage my friends from Homa Bay County Assembly. All of them are people I know personally, Mr. Speaker, including my area MCA, the Honorable Ruben Molo, is also in that gallery. Mr. Speaker, I want to encourage them that the Welfare Committee of the County Assembly of Homa Bay should not be seen as the end. The welfare of members is not the end. It is a means to an end. And that end is service to society, service to the people of Homa Bay. Mr. Speaker, I want to encourage my friends from Homa Bay County Assembly that they should not be blinded by pursuit of members' welfare at the expense of the welfare of the fisherfolk, of the farmers, of the traders, and of the great people of Homa Bay. Mr. Speaker, at least now, Senator Cheriot will also have to go through me if he wants to interact with any of the MCAs from Homa Bay, particularly those of the other gender. So if you need connections, Senator Cherargei, you have to go through me. Mr. Speaker, I beg your indulgence, Mr. Speaker. I beg, because my sister, Senator Beatrice Ogola, has worked in Homa Bay County Executive as a member of the County Executive for 10 years. It will be remiss, Mr. Speaker, if my sister Beatrice does not get an opportunity to say one word. Therefore, out of my 2 minutes, I donate 1 minute to Honorable Beatrice Ogola, Mr. Speaker.
Honorable Kajwang, you are not an advocate of anybody, or any senator for that matter. However, I will allow you to get away with this today. Honorable Beatrice, kindly 2 minutes.
Honorable Speaker, I'm humbled for the opportunity that you've given me for the donation of the 1 minute by my able Senator, Senator Moses Kajwang. I joined the great House, the Senate, in welcoming the honorable members from the Homa Bay County Assembly. Honorable Speaker, Homa Bay County is a county of potentials. And by the composition of the members that have come, you can see the great potentials that we have. In the delegation are also ranking members, and Honorable Speaker, I've worked in the county government for the last 10 years, one as a CEC of lands, once as a CEC of energy and water, and probably that speaks to the reference that Kajuang made of me yesterday that I will have the opportunity to substantiate another day. Welcome, honorable members. Learning is a lifelong activity, and we hope we'll also have a chance to walk down to Homa Bay, to the assembly, and learn more. Welcome, honorable members.
Next order, clerk.
Order number 5, papers.
What is your point of order, Senator Mazayo?
Mr. Speaker, I beg to lay an end to motion on adjournment of the House to discuss a matter of urgent national importance. Mr. Speaker, I beg to give notice to the following motion, that pursuant to Standing Order number 37 of the Senate, do adjourn to discuss a matter of utmost urgency, national importance, namely the police brutality, arbitrary arrest, and excessive use of force by the police during the demonstration yesterday, Monday the 20th, 2023. I thank you.
Have your seat, senators. The notice of adjournment under Standing Order 37, having met the required number of senators supporting the same, I would wish now to direct that the House shall stand adjourned at 5:30 to discuss that motion. Thank you. Next order. Majority Leader.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I beg to lay the following papers on the table of Senate today, Wednesday, 22 March 2023. 1. The report of Auditor General, financial statement of Machakos County Executive Committee, and the Chief's car, loan, and mortgage schemes for the year ended 30th June 2022. 2. Report of Auditor General on financial statement of Makueni County Youth, Men, Women, Person with Disability, and Table Banking Group Empowerment Fund for the year ended 30th June 2022. 3. Report of Auditor General on financial statement of Kitui County Assembly Service Board Employees Car and Mortgage Fund for the year ended 30th June 2022. Fourth, report of the Auditor General on the financial statement of the Bomet County Assembly car loan and mortgage scheme for the year ended 30th June 2020. Mr. Speaker, I laid the following paper.
Thank you. Next order, clerk. What is your point of order, Senator Wambua?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, Standing Order 190 establishes the Senate Business Committee. One of the most important responsibilities of that committee, Mr. Speaker, is to make decisions and give directions on the business of the House. The Speaker, I don't wish to question the work of the Senate Business Committee. They're doing a good job. The Speaker, my only concern is when it comes to giving priority to matters that will be discussed on the floor of the Senate. I have an interest on the matter listed as in the order paper number 27. That matter, the Speaker, is a matter of serious national concern, and all other matters listed there are important, the Speaker. But the Speaker, I'm a bit concerned that our children in schools, all public schools, not just in Kitui, all public schools, are really suffering under the weight of the current drought. It's a motion that I brought almost a month ago, and the Speaker, I would say maybe at times I'm most to blame for this because there are days I've not been here, but I've been responsible enough as a Speaker. Every time that I'm not in the House, and this you can confirm, I've written to your office and said I will not be in and given the reasons. The Speaker, that matter of public school feeding program in schools at a time like this is a matter that I thought maybe the Senate Business Committee may want to prioritize that matter so that we discuss it and see what remedies we can give to our children in all public schools in this country. I know the children in Laikipia are starving. I know the children in Kitui are starving. The children in Nandi have a problem. In Kericho, the same thing. The Speaker, if you can just do this, we'll appreciate. I thank you, the Speaker.
Senator Wambua, indeed, what you're raising is very valid and very appropriate. However, sometimes I wonder why most senators actually stand on points of order where it's an issue that could have been addressed in a different manner. The matter you've raised, though important, I think it can be handled administratively as opposed to it being raised on the floor of the House. And as the chair, I've taken note of that, and it will be handled administratively to make sure that particular motion is given priority. Now, honorable senators, we have had, I think we're abusing this so-called point of order. If you look at our standing orders, it gives reference to when a senator can stand on a point of order. It's not every time that a senator can stand on a point of order. If you read standing order, I believe, 98, it tells you when, as a senator, you can stand on a point of order. But you see, we have made that one so wide that anytime a senator wishes to say something, they will stand on a point of order. Whereas our standing orders actually are very specific at what moment should a senator stand on a point of order. So let us stick to what is provided in our standing order to avoid these other numerous standing orders that may not strictly be deemed to be points of order. That does not mean that what Senator Wambua has raised is not important, but it can be raised not through a point of order. It can be raised administratively, and how I wish, Senator Wambua, you raise this either with the clerk or with me in my office. Maybe today we will discuss that exhaustively. Let's proceed on, clerk.
Order number 6, notices of motion.
Senator Oburu. Yes, you have a motion that you ought to give notice today. Arbitrary arrest of Kenyan fishermen by Ugandan authorities. That is.
Mr. Speaker, was not given.
Were you given the order paper for the day?
He doesn't have the motion.
Kindly assist the honourable senator with the motion.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I was not given this. I'm sorry, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I wish to give notice of the following motion. Mr. Speaker, this is on the arbitrary arrest of Kenyan fishermen by Ugandan authorities. Mr. Speaker, that aware that the communities around the lake rely on fishing as their main economic activity, their source of food and employment. Concerned that the fishermen have reported harassment from the Ugandan security personnel, including arbitrary arrests and imposition of unreasonable fines. Further concerned that in November 2021, the Kenya International Boundaries Office formed a joint committee with the Ugandan authorities that did not effectively delineate the boundaries that would have helped avoid conflict between the two countries. Now, therefore, the Senate resolves, A, that the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and Diaspora Affairs, in collaboration with the Ministry of East African Community, the ASALs and Regional Development, engages the counterpart ministries in the Republic of Uganda to, 1, fast track the delineation of the Kenya-Uganda boundary, 2, develop measures to curb the arrests of Kenyan fishermen by Ugandan authorities, 3, institute a protocol for sustainable development of the Lake Victoria Basin on the sharing of resources between partner states, and B, the Ministry of Interior and National Administration to deploy the Kenya Coast Guard in the territorial waters of Lake Victoria to enforce maritime security and safety. Mr. Speaker, sir, I beg to move. I beg to give notice.
Senator Karen Nyamu.
Mr. Speaker, I rise pursuant to the Standing Order 60 to give notice of motion. Mr. Speaker, I raise pursuant to Standing Order 60 to give a notice of motion on review on the minimum wage necessity.
What is your point of order, Senator Mazaya? Kindly take.
She has no shoes.
Kindly take your seat.
Bwana Spika, kwa heshima na taadhima, nataka kuuliza katika hoja yangu ya nidhamu. Je, ni haki kwa seneta, na kama pengine ninaongea Bwana Spika, ingekuwa vyema kama dada yangu akae chini,
Senator Nyamu,
kiongozi mwenzangu.
Senator is on a point of order. You resume your seat. Thank you. Proceed, Senator Mazai.
Anasema kwamba kulinganishana na kanuni zetu za kudumu, nataka kuuliza swali moja tu. Je, ni haki kwa seneta ambaye ni mheshimiwa, anaheshimiwa sana, ndio chama cha UDA kikamchagua ama kikamteua kwa sababu walimuona na kadria ile nafasi ile, kuja hapa mbele yako, mbele ya Senate la bunge, yani Senate likiwa ni bunge la Kenya, ikiwa mtu anaonekana wazi kabisa mbele ya ndugu zake wote walio hapa kama maseneta? Je, ni heshima kuketi kusimama hapa mbele yetu na kuweza kuongea bila kuvaa viatu ama socks? Si nimemwona akitoa.
Senator Kinyua, may the senator be heard on silence. Can you conclude on your point of order, Senator Mazaya?
Je, ni haki kwa seneta dada yetu yule Karen kuja kuongea hapa bila viatu? Hakuvaa viatu, yuko na miguu chuma. Kwa hiyo akiwa na miguu chuma, je, anaruhusiwa kuongea mbele ya wanaume, mbele ya maseneta wanaume na wanawake? Asante Bwana Speaker.
Honorable senators, order senators, order senators. You know, the business before us is very important and it's long. Let us stay focused to that business. Back to the point of order as raised by Senator Mazayo. The only way to confirm that indeed Senator Karen Nyamu is barefooted is to allow her to approach the chair. Senator Nyamu, kindly approach the chair. Senator Mazayo, I'm afraid that Senator Nyamu is well dressed and she's wearing her shoes. So I will allow her to proceed to give notice of her motion. Kindly.
Mr. Speaker, you know Senator Mazayo normally wears glasses, machoine, yeye ni machoine. So sometimes he doesn't see very well. And Senator Joyce Korir has been looking for you since she saw your photograph baada ya maandamano. So see Senator Joyce Korir at your free time.
Order. Can we have order and make progress? Senator Nyamu, stick and focus on giving notice.
I am guided, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I rise pursuant to Standing Order 60 to give a notice of motion on review of the minimum wage necessitated by the high cost of living. That's aware that minimum wages in Kenya are specified as part of a national wage policy and guided by the Regulations of Wages and Conditions of Employment Act, Chapter 229, aimed at reducing poverty as well as protecting and promoting the living standards of workers. Concerned that despite the increase in Kenya's minimum wage in May 2022 by 12% to help workers cope with the surge in consumer prices, the current inflation rates have had a knock-on effect on the cost of living and doing business in the country, with the prices of goods, household, energy bills, and transport remaining stubbornly high. Now, therefore, the Senate resolves that the Cabinet Secretary for Labor and Social Protection engages all stakeholders, including the General Wages Advisory Board, the Agricultural Wages Advisory Board, with a view to raising the minimum wage by at least 50% as from 1st May this year, 2023. Mr. Speaker, I beg to notice. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Kenya is given respect, Mr. Speaker, in the African continent. It's taken as one of the biggest economy in Africa, and we feel proud of it. Finally, Mr. Speaker, Kenya was respected for presenting 3 women and 2 men, Mr. Speaker. It was given the respect in Africa for checking a gender, taking women very serious. That's giving out the fact that we are given, and that's why we are respected from Mr. Speaker. Therefore, Mr. Speaker, without much ado, I come here, Mr. Speaker, and second this motion. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Honorable members, before I propose the question, I would want to hear the Honorable Wenjuku Moria, the chair of the committee, Select Committee on Regional Integration.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. If you may recall, 2 weeks ago we had a similar debate in this House that you have just put the question, and during my debate I did put for record that it was premature to bring that debate in the House before it found its way in my committee. Honorable Speaker, if you read Standing Order 212, which my committee is founded on, in particular C and D, it is the committee's mandate to examine the records of all relevant debates and resolutions of the meetings of the Pan-African Parliament, the African, Caribbean, and Pacific European Union Joint Parliamentary Assembly, and other regional integration bodies. Honorable Speaker, it is my hope that the drafter of this standing order was in mind that the Regional Integration Committee is purely mandated to interrogate matters on regional integration, knowing very well that all the bilateral talks, all the bilateral agreements mainly originate from these joint parliaments. And as such, I'm concerned that this is a second debate, and therefore I would wish that you guide the House, though I have written a letter to the Liaison Committee. Unfortunately, we have not been able to sit for the last 2 Wednesdays. So if you find it well, you may still guide me where I should execute this matter more. But in my view, it is premature for this House to debate this report before it is examined and interrogated by my committee. And Honorable Speaker, for purpose of strengthening this House, at times when committee members debate a report that they have interacted with, they shape the debate in the House. A member like Honorable Moreu may not be well informed about Pan-African proceedings, but when members of Regional Integration Committee, who are more than the 2 who are nominated, speak on these matters, the House will be able to follow the debate, and they can have more understanding and they can debate from a point of authority and information. With that, Honorable Speaker, I beg you give the guidance. Though I see quite members wishing to discuss on the same.
Honorable members, here is an issue that merits a communication from the chair. Indeed, Standing Order number 2012-212, subarticle 2D, does indicate, read along with 1, there shall be a select committee to be designated as a committee of regional integration. The committee on regional integration shall, and I want you people as lawmakers to understand the difference between shall and may. Shall examine the records of all the relevant debates and resolutions of the meetings of the East African Legislative Assembly. B, that's B, examine bills introduced in the East African Legislative Assembly and acts of the East African Community. Examine the records of all relevant debates and resolutions of the meetings of the Pan-African Parliament, the African, Caribbean, and Pacific European Union Joint Parliamentary Assembly, and other regional integration bodies. Inquire into and examine any other matter relating to regional integration generally requiring action of the House. Generally requiring action of the House. The House is now acting on the report of the Pan-African Parliament, It is my considered opinion that these reports are supposed to be examined by that relevant committee on integration before it's brought to the floor of the House. Although this ruling is being given belated, and this is a matter, in my opinion, the Honorable Wanjiku Muhia and her committee should have raised on the floor of the House for the chair to give a ruling on. And in the process, we have created almost a quasi-tradition of debating these things before they come to your committee, including the one which was tabled, debated, and even question was put and passed. But nonetheless, it's my opinion that a wrong is always a wrong, even if that wrong did pass before. And under the circumstances, I'm saying that debate on this matter is going to be adjourned until such a time that this committee takes order. It's going to be adjourned, and I'm not going to propose the question, because the moment I propose the question, it becomes a substantive business of the House. And then this report is taken to that relevant committee on integration, then subsequently brought to the House for us to continue with the debate, for the question to be proposed and the matter to be debated. We have standing orders in this House, and we have committees, and they're supposed to perform. And they're supposed to perform strictly in accordance with what they were intended for in the first place. Anytime committees go out there, parliamentary delegations go out there, before they bring the report into the floor of the House,